All right, today we are pulling back the curtain on some of the most common and, honestly, most confusing tactics of manipulation. The whole point here is to get some clarity, to take that chaotic feeling and give it a name, so you can start seeing the patterns for what they really are.
You know that feeling, right? Where you're constantly off balance in a conversation or a relationship? Like you're always one step behind, just reacting to moves you can't even see. Well, let me tell you, that's not an accident. That is the entire point.
See, what feels like random, confusing, and unpredictable behavior, it's usually anything but. There's a pattern to it. There's a predictable set of moves. You could even call it an invisible playbook.
And that's exactly what we're going to do. Manipulation absolutely thrives in confusion. So, the first and most powerful thing you can do is just name what's happening. So let's open up this rulebook, shall we?
Okay, we're going to start with the tactics that are designed to mess with your perception of reality itself. I mean, these are the plays that are meant to make you question your own mind and your own memories.
So first up, we have selective memory. This is when someone will just confidently deny something that you know happened. An argument, a promise they made, a really hurtful comment, poof. They'll insist it never happened, or they'll tell a completely different story where, surprise, they look great.
And here's the real trap. They present their version of things with so much conviction that you start to second-guess yourself. You start thinking, wow, maybe I am remembering it wrong. And over time, that tactic just chips away at the trust you have in your own perception of the world. Next up is information withholding. Now this one is tricky because it's not technically lying. It's way more subtle. They just leave out the crucial details. You know, the little pieces of information that, if you knew them, would completely change your decision. It's all about keeping you in a fog that they control.
Oh, and then there's over-justification. This is where you ask a really simple question, and what you get back is a 10-minute monologue. It's so full of irrelevant details and weird side stories that by the end of it, you've completely forgotten what you even asked. The goal here isn't to clarify, it's to exhaust you into silence with a giant wall of words.
And to round out this section, we have future faking. This is when someone paints these beautiful, vivid pictures of a future with you. They talk about the trips you'll take, the life you'll build, the goals you'll achieve together, and it feels like so much hope, right? It keeps you invested, and it makes you put up with really bad behavior right now for a future that sadly is never going to arrive.
And this is the real tragedy of it. Those promises, they aren't actual plans. They're just tools to keep you quiet and hopeful. You end up making real sacrifices for a dream that was, in the end, just talk.
All right, let's move on to the next set of tactics. These are all about directly controlling your actions and your emotions. These are the plays that are really designed to pull the strings.
Now this one is incredibly powerful. It's called intermittent reinforcement. One day, they are just the warmest, most loving, attentive person you've ever met. The next day, they're cold, distant, and you can't get a word out of them. You never know which version you're going to get, and that unpredictability is what makes it so addictive. You're constantly trying to figure out how to get back to the good times.
It's really just like a slot machine. You just keep pulling that lever, hoping for that little payout of affection. And here's the crazy part. The fact that the reward is random is what creates the obsession. It keeps you hooked in a way that consistent kindness never, ever could.
Next, we have moving the goalposts. This is so frustrating. It's when you do exactly what they ask for, you meet the standard, and then you're told that's not what they wanted after all. The target is always shifting. The point isn't for you to succeed. The point is to keep you constantly trying and constantly feeling like you're just not good enough.
And then you have false urgency, that you have to decide right now kind of pressure. This tactic basically manufactures a crisis to hijack your brain's fear response. It's designed to completely bypass your rational thinking, pushing you to agree to something before you've had a second to actually think it through and spot the red flags.
Okay, our final set of tactics is really all about one thing: avoiding responsibility. These are the classic plays used to dodge the blame no matter what.
First up, weaponized incompetence. Let's be clear. This isn't someone genuinely struggling with a task. No, this is someone deliberately doing a task poorly over and over and over again until you get so frustrated that you just give up and say, fine, I'll do it myself. It's a strategy, a very effective one, for shifting responsibility right onto your plate.
And that right there is the long-term result. Slowly but surely, you just start taking on more and more, because it's just easier than dealing with their supposed inability. You've literally been trained to lower your expectations of them all the way down to zero.
Victim reversal.
This is a masterclass in emotional jujitsu. You bring up a legitimate hurt, something they actually did that upset you, and before you know it, they're the one who's hurt. They'll claim you attacked them, and somehow the conversation ends with you apologizing to them.
And the pattern is so predictable, you can almost set your watch to it. Your initial concern gets completely wiped off the map, and the whole conversation pivots until you're the one soothing their feelings. It's an incredibly effective way to shut down any attempt to hold them accountable.
And finally, there's moral licensing. This is where someone acts like doing one good thing gives them a free pass for a bunch of bad behavior later. They'll constantly bring up that one time they were helpful as a way to deflect any criticism for the 10 times they weren't. But here's the thing. Kindness doesn't work like a bank account you can just make withdrawals from.
So, okay, after walking through all of these different plays, what's the big picture here? Well, it's about recognizing that these aren't just isolated, one-off incidents. They are tactics. They're moves in a game.
Let's really connect the dots between the tactic, the goal, and how it makes you feel. Take future faking. The goal is to keep you invested, and it leaves you feeling hopeful, but totally stuck. Or victim reversal. The goal is to evade accountability, and it leaves you feeling confused and guilty. When you see it all laid out like this, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore.
You see, by just giving these confusing behaviors a name, you take away so much of their power. You really can't unsee the playbook once you know it exists. So the real question isn't just about what they're doing anymore, it's about what you do next. Now that you can see the moves, what's your next one going to be?